The galaxy had learned to fear dragons long before humanity ever reached the stars. They were ancient, magnificent, and utterly terrifying, creatures of flesh and starfire, capable of surviving in the vacuum of space, breathing plasma hot enough to melt starship hulls. They had ruled contested territories for millennia, and every spacefaring civilization knew the unwritten law. Never interfere with a dragon's horde, never threaten a dragon's nest, and never ever harm a dragon's young. Captain Sarah Chen had broken all 3 rules in a single afternoon. She hadn't meant to. The distress beacon had come from what appeared to be a derelict station, orbiting a dying red dwarf. Her crew aboard the wandering star had responded as any decent humans would, with curiosity and a willingness to help. They'd found the station torn apart, scorch marks suggesting a battle of catastrophic proportions, and in a shielded vault barely alive they'd found her. The dragon hatchling was no larger than a house cat, her scales shifting between silver and blue like oil on water. She was dying, her breathing shallow, her internal fires dimmed to barely flickering embers. Around her lay the bodies of what Sarah's xenobiologist identified as Krell enforcers, the galaxy's most feared mercenaries. They killed her family, Dr. James Morrison had whispered, scanning the destruction. This was a nest. They massacred them for, God, Sarah, I think they were harvesting dragon eggs. The hatchling had opened one crystalline eye and looked directly at Sarah. In that moment, something passed between them, recognition perhaps, or desperation. The dragon had made a sound, barely a chirp, and Sarah had made a decision that would change humanity's fate forever. She picked up the dying hatchling and carried her to the ship. The galaxy's response was immediate and unanimous. Within hours of the wandering star's departure, every major civilization issued the same decree. Humanity had stolen a dragon. The collective council declared humans enemies of the natural order. The Krell, desperate to cover their illegal egg harvesting operation, claimed humans had attacked the nest themselves. Even species that had been friendly with humanity's colonies turned hostile overnight. It didn't matter that Sarah had saved the hatchling. It didn't matter that they'd found evidence of the Krell's crimes. Dragons were sacred, untouchable, and humanity had violated the most fundamental law of galactic civilization. "They're calling for our extermination," Commander Williams reported, his face pale as he read the incoming transmissions. "Sarah, every species with a military is mobilizing. They're not just coming for us, they're talking about glassing Earth." Sarah looked down at the hatchling sleeping in the modified cargo bay, now strong enough to eat and fly in short bursts around the ship. They'd named her Nova, and she'd bonded with the crew in ways the xenobiologist couldn't fully explain. She played with the engineering team, learned to mimic human speech, and slept curled up against Sarah every night. "Then we run," Sarah said quietly. "And we tell every human colony what's coming." What the galaxy hadn't anticipated was how humanity would respond to an existential threat. Humans had always been considered weak by galactic standards, short-lived, fragile, lacking any natural weapons or psychic abilities. They'd earned their place among the stars through stubbornness and ingenuity, but never through strength. The galaxy had made the mistake of thinking those qualities didn't matter. Within weeks, human colonies became fortresses. Engineers who'd been building peaceful outposts now constructed weapons the galaxy had never imagined. Kinetic kill vehicles, AI-guided swarm missiles, quantum-entangled communication networks that couldn't be jammed. Scientists who'd been researching terraforming techniques now developed biological weapons tailored to each species' biochemistry. Humanity had been preparing for war since they'd first looked up at the stars. They'd just been hoping they'd never need to. The first battle came at the Proxima Centauri colony. A Krell armada, backed by Council forces, arrived expecting easy prey. They found humans who had spent 3 weeks fortifying every asteroid, every moon, every inch of space around their world. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Krell lost 70% of their fleet. The survivors brought back stories that spread like wildfire through galactic channels. Humans who fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness, who sacrificed themselves to take out larger ships, who never retreated even when outgunned. They spoke of the strange battle cry that echoed across every human frequency. For Nova, for the hatchling. The galaxy began to understand its mistake, but by then, it was too late to stop the momentum. Sarah watched from the bridge of humanity's first true warship. No longer a research vessel, but a dreadnought cobbled together from desperation and human ingenuity. Nova had grown, now the size of a large dog, and she refused to leave Sarah's side. "Another fleet incoming," Williams reported. 12 species, joint operation. They're calling it the final solution to the human problem. Sarah smiled grimly, stroking Nova's scaled head. The dragon purred, a sound like distant thunder. "How many ships do we have in range?" 300, with more arriving every hour. Every colony sent what they could. Then let's show them what happens when you threaten a human's family. The battle that followed would be recorded in galactic history as the turning point. Humanity, fighting for survival and for one small dragon they'd refused to abandon, unleashed everything they'd built, everything they'd hidden, everything they'd learned from centuries of human warfare. They didn't just win, they dominated. As the last enemy ships retreated, Sarah received a transmission on a frequency she'd never heard before. Ancient, powerful, resonating with harmonics that made her bones vibrate. A dragon appeared on her screen, massive and terrible, scales like fractured starlight. Behind it she could see dozens more, perhaps hundreds, their eyes all focused on her. "Human," the dragon spoke, its voice like grinding galaxies. "You carried our daughter when she was dying. You protected her when the galaxy demanded her death. You went to war for a creature not of your kind." Nova chirped and flew to the screen, pressing her snout against it. The ancient dragon's expression softened imperceptibly. "The galaxy fears dragons," it continued. "But we dragons have learned to fear something far more dangerous, humans who love." Sarah held the dragon's gaze. "Are you here to judge us or help us?" The ancient dragon showed its teeth in what might have been a smile. "Neither, human. We are here to tell you that the galaxy now has two ultimate enemies, and we dragons have chosen our side." Behind the ancient dragon, the armada of dragons turned as one, their plasma breath illuminating the darkness of space. The galaxy had wanted to make humanity their enemy for protecting a single dragon hatchling. They'd succeeded. But in doing so, they'd given humanity the most terrifying allies in the known universe. And humanity, stubborn and protective as always, would never let them forget it.